in this video, we're gonna be installing a Fluidampr dampener onto our Corvette Z06 that we have up here on the lift behind me. So I went ahead, got everything ready. So I wanna get straight into this video, show you guys what you need to do and get straight into the install. So let me flip this around, show you guys everything that we have to get the job done and what you're gonna need to do it. All right, so here's everything that we're gonna need. So we've got our Fluidampr damper right here. This is going to save a little bit of rotating mass. It's not gonna come apart like the stock factory one is prone to with the rubber, and overall just a better unit. So if you guys wanna research Fluidampr, I highly suggest them as far as your replacement one, and you guys can go check out and find more information. I'll link it down in the description below. So we've got our dampener here. You're also gonna need some other stuff. So you're gonna need a new crank bolt. I'm going with the ARP one because it is obviously reusable. So I'll link this down below if you guys need a new bolt. I also have a new front seal. Since we're in there, might as well change it. I don't know when the last time it was changed because this Corvette is new to me. And then we also have this tool. So this tool, I'll link it down below. This is gonna hold your flywheel in place or your flex plate, depending on what you've got. And this is gonna allow us to both torque this down when we get to it and also so that things aren't spinning around when we're trying to remove it. Over here, this is the removal tool that we'll need. So this is gonna pull off our stock pulley. And then this over here is our install tool. So this is gonna be to install the new dampener. So you don't wanna use a bolt to pull it on. A lot of people strip the threads out of their crank. We don't wanna do that. That's all stuff you need to get done. I got the Corvette up here. I'm not gonna bore you guys with exactly doing everything and step by step. I just wanna show you guys what you need to do to get the job done. So you'll see over here, I've got the steering rack removed, got the front wheels off, also got the front sway bar out. I've lowered our cradle here. So just lower it down to basically the bottom of the thread. So don't come past with your nut here. It's maybe about a ½ inch lowered. Only reason we need to lower that is to be able to get the front steering rack out. So take off your tie rods, disconnect your lines. It's gonna puke everywhere, but it kind of just is what it is. And then over here, you're gonna disconnect your rack, take that all of the way. And then depending if you've got headers or not, you're gonna have to do something here. So you gotta get to the starter. So I didn't completely take off my starter. You can see it's hanging out right here, but I've got the starter removed so we can install that tool there. And then you have nice access over here to the front dampener. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna install the tool over where the starter goes. I'll show you guys that. We'll remove the bolts and then we can get to the old seal, replace the seal, and get onto the new stuff. All right, so went ahead and installed that tool, and that's how it sits. So it goes in there, grabs onto your flywheel or flex plate, whatever you happen to have, if it's auto or manual, and bolts in where the starter goes. So that's held there, and then I went ahead and just grabbed a breaker bar, used a 24 mil, you can use an impact, whatever you want, 24 mil head bolt. We're gonna take this out. So you'll notice that this one is pinned. This vehicle was previously pro-charged, so I am naturally aspirated now, so I'm not gonna repin it, but just figured I'd point that out. So now with this removed, we can go ahead and install our 3-jaw puller specifically for the LS. We'll get it rigged up and then we can pull this off. All right, and this comes with 3 different length rods. I'm finding on this LS6 motor, the Z06, I'm having to use the longest rod. And then I've got it rigged up right here, and now should just be able to zap it with the gun and get this thing off. And there she goes, and it's off. All right, so damper's removed. You can see here, this is the original seal. I don't know that it's been leaking, but since we're this far into everything, I'm not taking any chances. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this thing out of here. It pops out this way, which is kind of nice on the LS stuff. So we'll pop it, pry it out, clean up the surfaces, and then we can put the new seal in before we get to the new stuff. All right, so I just popped the old seal out and use one of these tools to pop it out. It's fairly easy with one of these. Just simply get in underneath, hook it, pry up, and it'll pop right out. So when comparing this one to the new one, I would definitely suggest doing this. Like, look at just how static this one is at this point. Like, that one is just so much better. So anyways, Got a brand new one. I'm gonna go with this Timken one. I usually like Timken bearings and whatnot, so I have a feeling this one should be good. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna tap this in place, get this seated, and then we can move on. All right, new front seal is in. Just grab something that's about the same diameter. So I happen to have this. You're probably gonna have to search the shop for something, and then just tapped it in. Nothing too crazy. Just make sure it's fully seated. When it's fully seated, it's gonna be flush with that lip on the cover. So that's how you know when it's all the way in. And now on to the next. All right, so we got our damper here. I decided to take off the outer shell just so we don't damage it or anything like that while we're installing it. You don't have to. There is red Loctite on the 3 bolts that hold the outer shell to the actual hub, so just be aware of that. And then over here, I also have our installer tool. So I'm gonna lubricate this stuff as well, the threads, as well as the little bearing that's in here just to help it along. And then I also put a film of oil on the inside and also where the seal is going to ride past it, just so that we don't dry rub against the seal. So anyways, that's my method. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna get the tool rigged up. So I've got the installer tool bottomed out in all the threads. You wanna make sure you got as much bite as possible in the crank. And then we're gonna go ahead and get our damper here, and then we can start to pull it on with the tool. All right, that seems like it's pretty much it. So go ahead and loosen off our tool. And we'll get this out of here. Okay, so she is fully seated all the way down. Now we're gonna grab our ARP bolt. So it comes with its own specific instructions because the stock bolt is torque to yield. That's why you can't use it, because it stretches and you're not supposed to reuse it. So here's the instructions for the bolt. You have the ARP assembly lube. It says to put it on the threads and then between the washer and the head. So that way it can appropriately slip there. So don't put it on both sides, but just put it under one side, so between the face of the bolt and the washer. So let's go ahead and get that in, and we got to go to 235 pounds of torque. It's gonna be fun. Here we go with our bolt. We've got ARP lube here, and then we've got it between the head of the bolt and the washer. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get this in here. I'm gonna run the bolt down, and then we'll get out our torque wrench for that fun torque spec that we got to tighten this thing down to. All right, 235 foot-pounds. It's gonna be a fun one. One-handed, baby. There she is. So, there we go. Torque wrench, just for good measure. 235. Well, that wasn't terrible actually, using that that lock on our flywheel. It really wasn't that bad at all. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead, put red Loctite back on our 3 bolts for our shell, and put the sleeve back on, and that should be done. All right, so our outer sleeve is installed and we are all done here. All right, so our harmonic damper is now installed. So pretty straightforward, you guys, if you have the correct tools. So I'm not gonna bore you guys. I'm gonna put this car back together now, but I'm pretty sure you guys can handle it from here. So I will link everything that you need to get this job done down in the description below. Like I said, if you have the right tools, it really isn't that bad. Yes, it is labor intensive, but with the right stuff, it all goes very smoothly. Everything comes off smooth, everything goes on smooth, and you can just get the job done. So like I said, links in the description for everything that you'll need to get the job done. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you guys like Corvette stuff. I also have a lot on this channel and a lot more on the way. We're going racing with this car. We're headed to LS Fest here pretty soon, and we do a bunch of track days as well. So if you guys are into watching this Corvette get the absolute daylights beat out of it, then definitely hit the subscribe button because we got a lot more on the way, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.